Okay, great. I think we're a go. Thank you very much for joining this evening. I'm just going to see if I can make this work. Um, Probably not. Got some comment assistance here. Apparently, let me turn that off. All right. Right, let's get started. So, thank you very much for joining this evening. As you know, it's close to the end of the winter season ticket promotion that we've been running here at GG's. Um, More importantly, it's close to the end of the flat season, and we had the ARC meeting this weekend. Fantastic meeting. Um, Quite difficult to find winners. I did manage to fall on the ARC winner, but that was much more by luck than judgment. I hope you did. Hope you had some success there as well. We've still got obviously Champions Weekend, the 2-year-old championships at Newmarket to come. Of course, the Breeders' Cup at the end of this month and the very beginning of next month. And while that's happening, we'll have the start of the jump season, which is super exciting. And after the Breeders' Cup, it's only a couple of weeks until we get to Cheltenham's November meeting. And after that, it's all systems go. Really, it's all systems go from Chepstow's October meeting. But I guess it really ramps up a notch from middle November. Um, so I have some of this. I was going to have a beer, but then I thought I'd have a glass of wine. Felt like a more civilized evening. So if you've got something, I'm raising a glass to you. Cheers. Just quickly before we start, probably most of you know at least something about me. My name is Matt Bisogno. I'm a massive horse racing fan, and I love to bet on the sport as well. I've been doing what I do now with GG since 2008, and before that, I had a blog called Nag 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 for a couple of years from 2006. So next year will mark 20 years, 2 decades online talking rubbish about racing. So if you've been following me for even a short part of that, thank you very much for your understanding and forbearance. It's much appreciated. About 10 years ago, maybe just a little over 10 years ago now, my frustrations with other racing form sites got the better of me, and kind of cobbling together bits from here and bits from there to make a race card which suited what I wanted to do, and that was a very frustrating period before then, and expensive as well. I was paying nearly 200 quid a month to pull together all the stuff, and I wasn't really betting enough to justify that kind of outlay. So, somewhat stupidly, I thought, well, maybe I can make a better one. And that idiotic idea was the genesis of GG's and the race cards that you see, GG's Gold, which are now, as I say, 11 years old. We've been building and developing them ever since, and they're, I think, and more importantly, lots of you think they're the best out there. We've won lots of awards to support that bold statement, and we continue to invest in the product, as I'll show you later in this recording. So that's a little bit about me. One of the other things that GG's has enabled me to do is give a little bit back in various ways. So one of the things I've done is I was on the Horse Racing Betters Forum, which is a group that tries to improve the lot of UK punters by lobbying for them to the BHA and Gambling Commission and people like that. I actually chaired that group for a couple of years as well. They still do great work, and I'm less involved these days than I was, but I'm still a great advocate for the HBF. It's not an easy job trying to have a voice for punters, and I very much respect those people who spend their time trying to do that. Other things that we do is GG's has sponsored jockeys for a long time. We used to sponsor David Probert and Callum Rodriguez, and this season and last season we've been sponsoring Marco Gianni, excellent rider, and also Ben Godfrey over the jumps. And we also sponsor the stable. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can. Of Why is that so wonky? There we go. There you go. I've only had one glass of wine, I promise, of Anthony Honeyball. Fantastic trainer down in the southwest, and we have horses stabled with him. I'll tell you a little bit about those actually, and our hopes for the season. So we have horses with him, and also with Ollie Murphy. I'll quickly cover those before we get started with the actual GG stuff. So this season, we've got 3 with Anthony, 3 to run this year, and 2 with Ollie. Let's talk about the Ollie ones first. So with Ollie, we've got a horse called Sure Touch, who has been a bit of a legend for us. He ran in this race, the Unibet Summer Plate, last July in those colours, and he won that race. So that was probably one of the very best days we've had on a race course. These are syndicated with other GG's members, by the way. So it's it's a great way for us racing fans who want to get closer to do that. Sure Touch has he's struggled a little bit since then. It's fair to say. He is entered to run at Ludlow on Wednesday in a lower class race. So he's dropped. That was a grade 3 race, the Summer Plate. He's dropping down to a class 3 on Wednesday if he runs. The ground's quite quick, so he may not. But if he does run, we hope he's got a chance. He ran a next second there on his only other start at Ludlow. Good ground is no problem to him. Quick ground we'd be a little bit worried about. But he's rising. He's 9 at the moment. He's going to be 10 on January the 1st. So the plan for the rest of the season, all being well, would be to have a few runs in the veterans chases, because he will be a veteran as of the 1st of January. He's won 9 races, so pretty legendary. And another one of our legendary horses, which you might be able to see in the background here, and indeed here, this is Coquelicot. She won 2 listed races for us. She's been a legend. She is now retired and has been covered by Masked Marvel. So she's going to make, we hope, a beautiful baby who will be super exciting to follow on the track in due course. So that's Sure Touch and Coquelicot. We also have another lad with Ollie called G-Force Flyer, and he maybe you can't. Let me just see if I can actually, rather than mess up that, let me get the picture down. He ran in a point-to-point in Ireland at a place called Balta, which is a tough track, and he won that point-to-point, which was a massive surprise to us. A pleasant one, obviously. He's not run since, but he's working very well, and the plan is for him to hit the track in the next 3 weeks, I suppose. He'll need some soft ground. That's an absolute prerequisite for him. So assuming he gets that ground, then he'll be a very exciting one for us to follow. The third horse from our point-to-point won his next race, his next point, and he was sold to John Joe and AJ O'Neill for £155,000, or maybe euros, I can't remember. Anyway, 155 something. So that's quite a lot of money. And obviously we're super hopeful and excited for him, but he's won 1 point-to-point, and he's got to go forward from there now and prove it. But he really could be a very nice horse to follow this season. So he's called G-Force Flyer. With Anthony, we've got 3 horses. We've got Dartmoor Pirate, who he was 4th in the novices final 2 seasons ago. That's a novices handicap hurdle at Sandown. Very good quality race. Last season, the plan was to go novice chasing, but he had some problems with his back, and he had 1 run in a novice chase, and that was a bit of an abortive mission. We've looked at his back. He's had some intervention there, and he's had a lot of physiotherapy since. So we hope that he's going to be able to use himself a lot more, be more agile this season. But obviously, what he's done in the schooling grounds, he's schooled very well. But when you go on the track and you're under pressure in a race, it can be a different scenario. So, but we'd be very hopeful. He's got a big engine inside him. He's quite a talented lad, and I feel like we probably haven't seen the best of him. So that's Dartmoor Pirate. And then we've got two 3-year-old fillies, unraced. The first of them was bought in the sales in Doncaster a few months ago. She's called Ashburton, and she's a big, rangy filly. She's going to take a bit of filling out. She probably need maybe 2 years before she's fully matured. So really anything she does this season will be a bonus, I think. But she's GBB qualified, which is a big mares bonus series. So if she can win a race in the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to be worth they're worth between, I think, £5,000 and £20,000 extra on top of the prize money. So if we can win one of those, we'll be in good shape. If we can win more than one, we'll be in great shape. So that's Ashburton. And then finally, we've got a filly that I bought as a yearling in France at Arcana. She's called Luna Lux, Lunalux, Luna Lux. She was bought as a replacement for Coquelicot, and she's a beautiful filly. She's done everything pretty easily so far. She also will be looking to go maybe running a bumper. I'm not sure when. She seems fairly ready, but Anthony has a few choices to make in terms of which horses run where. So we'll see with her, but she's pretty exciting as well. So we've got quite an exciting squad to go to the races with, and fingers crossed one of them can be good. Right, that was a lot longer than it was supposed to be. So let's get down to the main business. We are going to talk about GGs, and specifically what you can do as a free member and then as a light and a gold member. And I want to spend some time breaking down the 3 areas of GGs, which are the race cards, the reports, and the toolkit, the tools. So what is GGs? Well, it's a place that people who want to find their own value selections or their own selections of any nature, rather than be told what to bet by a tipster. We are anti-tipster, not that we don't like tipsters or respect some of them. It's that for most GG's subscribers and members, and certainly for me, the joy is very much in finding my own horses to bet, in seeing something that I reckon most other people haven't seen, in unearthing something interesting in the data. That time that I spend with the form book is really valuable time. Sometimes they win, sometimes, more often they don't, of course. That's the nature of the game. But if I know that or believe that I'm making value bets most of the time using good information, it's hugely satisfying. And it's a bit of the day every day when I look at the race cards that is joyful time. And that's what GG's is. It's a facilitator. It's a load of data that's been visualized as much as possible to help you see as much as we can show you about a race in as little time as possible. So why don't we have a look at it? Enough of me. Let's have a look at the video. Right now, this is technology, and my infamy with technology is that I normally foxtrot it up. So let's see if I can make a let's see if you can see this. Hopefully you can now see the GG's homepage with that very subtle banner reminding anybody who's not currently a subscriber that time is passing. So the layout of the site, there's a whole bunch of information from these little menus up here, including fixtures and racecourse stuff and frequently asked stuff and user guide, very importantly, video guides on almost everything that we've got inside GG's Gold. And then we've got an articles bank here, and you can link to the blog, and we've got all our trend stuff and so on here. The good content for racing fans who want to find a bet is in the big white bar and the dark blue font. So race cards, results, reports, and tools, and your My GGs area. I'm just going to quickly talk about My GGs because I think there's a lot you can do here to configure the site how you would like to have it. So first of all, on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of links and information. If you're new to GGs particularly, but even if you've been around a while, it's definitely worth re-familiarizing or familiarizing yourself with the links here. We add a note about the recent updates in this section, and there are some more fairly imminently coming, which I'm excited about. So you can see in April we added Betfair data, and that was a major upgrade, and we've got another couple of fairly major upgrades due between now and the beginning of next year. I'll tease those a little further in a moment. There's some good stuff on what we've got and how to use it. These are things I've recorded previously. You may have seen this Setting Yourself Up to Succeed video. I think it's one of the better ones I've done. And then there's some deep dives into race cards, reports, and tools here. I won't have a huge amount of time in this recording to go into detail on these things, and I'm going to deliberately keep it fairly high level. But I hope even if you've been with GGs for quite a long time, I hope that I'll show you something that you perhaps didn't realize you could do. So let's see how we go with that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff down here. This challenge is pretty good as well. It's another way to look at the form process, the picking process, and it might help you. So it's definitely worth a look if you haven't looked at it before. There's some more videos down here as well. On the right hand side, we've got a bunch of options. So your tracker options are here, including when and if you want to receive emails. Your tracked engagements are here, and then tracker options are there. The race card options is a brilliant place where you can make all sorts of configuration changes to how you see the information on the page. So you can see that you can change the odds display or even hide it. You can hide any, all, or none of the indicators and icons on the race card. You can view a few or a lot of rows of form in the full form view. You can include or exclude proximity form. I find it quite useful personally. You can personalize how Instant Expert displays by default. This is how I set it up. 2-year date range, handicap and all contextual. So if it's a handicap, it's going to show me only handicap form. If it's a non-handicap, it's going to show me all form. And the race code, I set it up to show me the specific race code. So if I'm looking at a handicap chase, for instance, it's going to show me handicap form in chase races. So handicap chase form. You can view one of these 3 ratings on the Instant Expert or none of them. And in the form generally, you can view a whole bunch of ratings. Now, some of these are admin only, like this one. So if you can't see that, don't wonder what it is. It's just something that I kind of half built ages ago and never got around to finishing. So if I thought it was good, I would have published it. The fact that it's not published tells you all you need to know there. So you've got the good stuff, and I'm lumbered with the other stuff. If you use the bet tracker, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can set a default stake here, and or whether you set it up to be best odds guaranteed. And then there's a couple of settings for sectional timing, which we may or may not get into today. You can change any of those, click update, and it's going to do that for you. So it's definitely worth spending a moment looking at this just to make the website the way you want it, tailor it to exactly how you want to see it. And finally, if you're the sort of guy or girl who likes to create their own ratings, so you can see here we've got an R1 rating that you can display. R1 is your rating set. So you can create a rating set in the results. Again, I'll show that in a second. And you can dictate what the settings for those ratings are here, and you can download a spreadsheet with all of your ratings in it if you'd like to. You can ignore various things if that's your thing. No, ratings are not really for most people, so we'll park that there and get on to the race cards. So before we look at these, I'm just going to see if I can share something else. This is going to be a tech transition, which is obviously big scope for disaster. I think that might have worked. Let's see. Okay, so this is a view of the race cards, but you see this big green block at the bottom is because I'm logged in here as a free member, a free GG's member. Now, I promised that I would show what you could do as a free member, and so that's what we're doing here. One of the things to note as a free member, just on the My GG's page, is that there's a... Excuse me, I must get this wine drunk. There is a block here that says you are a free GG's user, and then underneath it, it tells you what free stuff you get each day. So on Sunday, I just need to move that new because it's not new anymore. On Sunday, you can view the pace tab for all races. You can also view the pace tab for all races on Mondays. Tuesday, the shortlist. Wednesday, trainer stats report. Thursday, instant expert tab for all races. Friday and Saturday, there are reports. So there's stuff. There's a gold feature accessible every day if you're a free member. So if you haven't subscribed to the website, you really should, because you get free stuff. Now, race cards. There are 4 meetings today. You can view them by meeting like this. Actually, you can just see the venues on here and some course info that you can access here. If you click the plus or on any of the blue bars, that will open, in this case, the Toxted card. If I click plus, it opens all of them. Minus, you're ahead of me, does that. By time, we'll display them, yes, by time, and compact will display them in a compact format. You can use the filters at the top here. So if I click show filters, if I only wanted to look at the Irish racing today, for instance, I could grey out UK. And if I only wanted to look at the handicaps there, I could grey out non-handicaps. And if I only wanted, let's say, staying handicaps beyond 3 miles, I could do that. And I've got 2 races to look at. And conveniently, one of them is a yellow box, which means it's one of the races of the day today. So every day on GG's, we allow free members a few races, a handful of races to look at as though they were a gold subscriber. So let's look at this 5:17 race quickly. And you can see that you've got all of the tabs at the top here for this race. Now, if I look at another race at Killarney here, you'll see that I can only see a subset, including the pace tab, because the pace tab is the free feature of the day today. So that's free. If you, like I say, if you're not registered on the site as a free member, you really should put that right. If you go to the big block on the big sales block on the top of the homepage, you can get registered from there. Everything else I do now is going to be as a gold member, and that's going to be on here, I hope. All right, so what have we got on the race cards? I think I'm going to look at tomorrow's racing rather than today's. And let's have a look at Pontefract. So the first thing about Pontefract is that if you're not familiar with any of the tracks, if you click on the course info button, you will see a screen like this, which includes, for many of the tracks, a description of what's best suited. But importantly, it includes a view of the track, so you can get a feel for the layout and kind of visualize how races might be run. So that's definitely something to look at, I think. So let's have a look at a couple of races at Pontefract, and we can talk through. I want to look at this 343 race, and there's a very specific reason, and that is that I own a share in Baldomero, who's been a super lucky horse for me and the other horse watchers who own him. This is a 6 furlong Class 3 handicap. It's going to be soft ground tomorrow. The average rating of the runners in this race is 80, apparently. I think if you add all those up and divide by 11, you'll get 80. I'm taking that. I'm trusting the mechanics of the site. Let's talk about the race card then. There's a lot going on here. So along the top, we've got a whole bunch of tabs, essentially. We've got the card tab, which is this one. When the result is known, that will be displayed behind this tab. We have full form, where you can dig down into any of the runners. Profiler, where you can do likewise, but in kind of a broader context. Instant Expert is the very popular view that it gives you an immediate snapshot of what's going on. Pretty helpful in a race like this where they all run quite a lot of times. Less helpful in kind of nurseries or maiden races where there's very little form or little trustworthy form to work with. Pace tab, draw tab, trends where the race has had a few previous renewals, and an odds tab. Let's start with the odds tab. You can see we've got a whole bunch of bookmakers here, and we've got these kind of bar charts here. Now there won't be much in this one because this is kind of a the odds only came on site very recently, but you can view the odds history of any or all of the runners in here, and you can see, for instance, this one here, which looks like Orn, excuse me, has been well backed. What have I done here? So it's much more useful on the day of the race, of course, when there's when the price movements have had a chance to take place. And in this day and age where odds checker have become a little bit difficult, let's say, and maybe you can't see the odds history on there, I like the way we set out our odds history. If there's been no change, or if there are a few, you tend to see, if you look at some of the other odds comparison sites, if you look at the history, they show a lot of kind of micro price movements, and it makes the screen really busy and cluttered. And I want a flavour of the direction of travel in the market of the horses, whether they're generally being supported or generally on the drift or just pretty static. I want to get a feel for that. I don't need to know that at 4:32 the horse went from 13-8 to 6-4, and at 4:34 it went from 6-4 to 13-8. That's not material. It's not interesting to me. So we've built it a different way. We've built it to be to show you kind of in a less granular way what the sort of price trajectories are. So that's the odds tab. Full form is a place where you can drill down into the form of all the. Okay, so this is the full form tab. And this is where you can get really detailed and granular looking at the horse's form. It's broken up into a number of sections. Let me just concertina those. So you've got runner details, the filters section, horse's race record, any entries upcoming, and the form. So here is the full form for the horse, in this case Fine Interview. And you can see there's all sorts of information on here, including Betfair information, proximity form, video links, draw, run style, average official rating of the race, some ratings over here, how the form has worked out, breaks between runs, and so on. All of the columns are sortable. For instance, if you wanted to know a horse's best racing post ratings, under which conditions they were achieved, you could sort by RP, and then you can look over here and look at the race conditions. So you can see that 6 furlongs and soft ground look fine for Fine Interview, as an example. Race entries, he's got this one race tomorrow as an entry. This is his overall race record, and you can filter that. Let's say we only wanted to look at runs on this going. If I do that, we can see that Fine Interview has run 6 times and won 3 of them, placed on another couple of occasions, and we can see his other data here. We can do this for all of horse, jockey, trainer, sire or dam. So we can look at the trainer form under similar conditions and so on. And we can change the runners here. That's full form. It's very, very powerful. Profiler is a similar view of the world, but it kind of expands out the picture. So let's have a look at a horse called Baldomero here, and we can see on Baldomero we can see all of his, in this case, going form. We can see his complete form history. Tomorrow's race is soft ground, so that's the highlighted row, but I can see that on heavy ground, if it was to rain a little bit more, I can see that he'd be fine on heavy ground as well, whereas on good to firm, he's not performed very well at all. So that's that, and then we can look at all of the other variables there, including course constitution and direction and things like that. All of the today's conditions are highlighted in the blue rows for ease of reference. Instant Expert is a very quick digest of all of the form in the race, and again, if we look at Fine Interview, you can see that he's placed in 3 of 4 races on soft ground, which is the setting here. If we click anywhere in this little range of boxes, it's going to show me the 4 races in question, so you can see his specific form here, and we can compare the details of these races with today's race conditions and today's official rating. So he's off 88 today, and you can see that he ran off 91 in this race, where he ran well in a soft ground class 3 handicap. This is a soft ground class 3 handicap, 6 furlongs, 6 furlongs. You can see that the average official rating in that race was 83.5. Whereas in this race it's only 80, so it's a small drop in class, and he's slightly better weighted today. We can also see that Fine Interview was a winner over course and distance on soft ground, albeit in a class 5 race, in almost exactly a year ago. So he won that very easily indeed. So Fine Interview looks the right favourite there, without going into the detail of all the other runners, which you can do at your own discretion. So that's that. You can also view these data for jockey, trainer and sire. So if you wanted to know, for instance, when there's not much horse form, it's quite interesting to know which sire's progeny have handled soft ground the best. In this race you wouldn't have too many concerns, with the possible exception of Invincible Spirit, whose Irish Nectar has, who is the sire of Irish Nectar. If we quickly look at the form of Irish Nectar, he himself may be fine on soft ground. In fact, we can see he's won his 2 best runs were on soft ground. So Irish Nectar actually is an outlier for Invincible Spirit, whose progeny tend not to appreciate soft, but Irish Nectar clearly does appreciate soft. So you need to check those kind of things. Nothing is 100% perfect, and this works much better. This sire view is much more instructive when we're looking at races where there's very little form in the book. So that's Instant Expert. The Pace tab is made up of 3 sections. So the top section is these coloured blobs, and in this case we can see the amber blob, lead, tells us that 4 of 25 horses that led or disputed the lead in 6 furlong soft ground handicaps at Pontefract went on to win, and that's much better than the average. You can see that the other boxes are red and the impact values are below 1, which is not good. The leaders that won recorded a small level stakes loss, but that run style was definitely favoured above the other ones. So for instance, although prominent runners have won more races than horses that led or disputed the lead, they've done that from a much bigger sample of runners. So they've got 6 wins, but it took 69 goes for those 6 wins. Whereas the horses that led or disputed, they've got 4 wins, but from only 25 goes. So in percentage terms, you can see that led is just about double the next best. The chart section sorry, the table section basically tells you in a bit more detail what the blobs tell you, so you can get a quick snapshot from the blobs, and you can look in more detail if you want to at the table. We have a pace prediction here, which is maybe falsely run in this case, which is an interesting pace prediction. If we put it on the graphic, now I've sorted this by draw, so if it looks like this, and particularly on the heat map it might look a bit wonky. If it looks like that, that's not very helpful. But if you sort by draw, it looks a lot more sensible. And you can see that those drawn inside, pretty much regardless of draw, have done quite well, whereas those drawn middle to high have tended to struggle. Now it's not a big data set, so I wouldn't be getting too excited about this, or too categorical about it. But if I liked a horse drawn low, then this wouldn't be putting me off, let's put it like that. So that's the pace tab. The draw tab has, funnily enough, draw data. You can sort with a bunch of options at the top, which I haven't really got time to go into now. Suffice it to say that these are my settings. I do tend to narrow the runner range to be one either side of the actual number of runners when there's enough data to support that. And I tend to use actual draw, which is the draw position from stall 1 after accounting for non-runners, as opposed to card draw, which is the number as published on the race card. And I'll have it contextual, so in this case it's a handicap, so I want to look at the handicap data. I tend to look at the charts on PRB, percentage of rivals beaten. Over time, 50% is you beat the same number as beat you, so anything better than 50% is good, anything worse than 50% is not good. And if we look down here, we can see that the inside stalls have typically had a number, this line here is 50%. And so the inside stalls have typically done well. There is a draw pace, a draw run style heat map here. So along the top we've got led, prominent, mid division and held up, and then we've got low, middle and high. So we can see that low and prominent, or led, has been probably the best place to be. And then we've got a table that breaks that down into a lot more detail if you want to look at that. So there's a lot of detail there. Very useful for capturing nuances. You hear so much nonsense about what's the draw bias, and really it's the people high is favoured, but high or low can be favoured or unfavoured depending on your run style. For instance, if you're drawn low at Chester, ostensibly that's a favourable draw, but if you get out of the stall slowly, you're going to be in a pocket and it's going to be very, very hard to win from there. So I would rather be high at Chester and a front runner, or tactical pace, than low and held up, as an example. So we need to consider pace and draw always in combination, not one without the other. If I was considering one of the two, it would be pace or run style over draw, but using them both in concert is definitely optimal. We have a trends tab. Now this race I don't think has got any trends, so there is no trends data there, but when there's trends race, it will show you the various characteristics of previous race winners of the same race in years gone by. The one tab I haven't shown you is the card tab, which is where you start, and it's the most important one. So you can see it's fairly standard in its layout. Race card number, draw, recent form, silks, horse name, details about any headgear and so on. Here, horse's age, weight, trainer, jockey, and some ratings over here. You can read about those in the user guide, and the odds on the right hand side. But we have extra stuff. So, cheek pieces first time, fine interview, interesting. Baldamera, cheek pieces for the 5th time or more, 5+, CP 5+. Novello Lad, wind up for the 5th time or more, in other words 5 or more runs since he had wind surgery. Likewise Trilby, who is wearing a tongue tie for the 3rd time. Irish Nectar wearing blinkers for the 3rd time, and so on. Arrow down, that means Irish Nectar is dropping in class. 1 grade. We've got a 1 there. So this is a class 3. So Irish Nectar last ran in a class 2 race, which you can see there. So that's an interesting thing to note. What else can I tell you on here? I was hoping we do sometimes have things like TC and HC1, but not on this card. Never mind, we'll not worry about that for now. Okay, so then we've got these boxes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are actually 10 because I hide 2 of them, as you would have seen in my GG section. So this is the horse form. You've seen it's like a truncated version of full form. You've got video links here and all the other data. Jockey form, recent form, course longer term, and form with the trainer. So Al Jahani and Tud Hope, 1 from 3 in the last year. Trainer form, very similar, recent and course, but this contextual form is really interesting. So how's Al Jahani done specifically in sprint races? Pretty good, 50% place strike rate. You can see his overall record and his handicap record there. These are all 2-year time frames, by the way, in the snippets section. So this is all number of runs in the last 2 years. Al Jahani looks one to keep on side. He gets some very good horses for this mob, of course. The head-to-head tab, in this case we can see that Fine Interview has raced against 4 of his rivals, when actually in actual fact 3, one of them twice. We can see the details of how Fine Interview did and how his rivals that reopposed today did. If you wanted to look at all of the head-to-head data in the race, or indeed all of the form or trainer form or so on, just click the icon in the header row like so, and then it will open up that data item for all of the runners. So you can quickly see which horses, for instance Grant Wood has been losing a lot to these, likewise Valentine Catcher and Irish Nectar, a mixed bag, whereas Baldomero has done okay and Fine Interview's done very well. The red question mark is for report angles, and I will touch on that briefly in a moment. Report angles are your configuration of the data from the reports that you want to see, and we pipe it straight into the race card. So for instance with Thunder Blue here, I can see he's got 2 report angles showing. If I click on that, I can see that it's relating to trainer form, both of them. So we've got 14-day and 30-day trainer stats for Jamie Osborne, strong pointers. For Novello Lad, he's come out of a hot form race, and also his trainer with David Nolan at this track in the last 5 years. They have a good record when partnering each other, when teaming up. The blue box is QT angles, query tool angles. So query tool is our system builder, and you can save systems or angles in there, and when there's a qualifier from any of those systems or angles, they'll show up in on your race card in these blue boxes. Click that one and you can see that Sam England is in my underrated squad, as an example. So that's the card. There's lots and lots of data in here. Sorry, I haven't quite finished. We've got Racing Post comments in here. We license a lot of our data from the Racing Post, so you can read the what the Racing Post writers think about the individual runners. Sometimes there's something there that you might have missed from your own form study, and I think the breeding and sales data is really fascinating. Again, we've got a snippet from the Racing Post here, and then we've got our 2-year snippets. So in this case we're looking at Havana Grey. In the last 2 years his progeny have run 2,035 times at a win rate of 12.78%, percentage of rivals beaten 54%, which is very good on a number of runs this high. So that's positive data for Havana Grey. If you wanted to know more about Havana Grey, or indeed the dam Hypatia, you could click on their names, and it will open up another window, and like so, and you can look at the form of Hypatia. Let's make that 2009, and you can see that she also had a horse called You Don't Own Me, which won a few races, also at around 6 furlongs, so although generally on the all-weather. So that's something else that you can do from the sire block there. And those are the race cards. So there's an awful lot to go at. There is the Racing Post summaries down the bottom as well. There's an awful lot to go at there. Nobody uses everything. There's a huge amount, and there just isn't enough time to use all of it. But you'll find the parts that work for you. We deliberately set the general race card layout as a standard format, so you'd be used to seeing most of this on any other race card, except that we've got a lot more detail in here in terms of draw and run style and average official rating and Betfair starting price and a bunch of ratings and how the race has worked out since, and of course the video length. So there's a great deal just in that horse tab, and obviously lots more behind the other ones. Let's now move on to the report suite. So the reports can be found from behind the reports menu icon, or from the report selector drop down here. Let's just go to the shortlist to begin with. So the shortlist is, if you're new or short on time, the shortlist is a really good way to just access a shortlist of runners that are well suited to conditions today. So these horses get green, amber or red if they run against today's conditions previously, grey if they haven't, and they are scored according to the details down here, and the maximum score they can get is 15. Minimum to appear on here is 9, and you can see there's a couple of 15s today that unfortunately inconveniently did not win. Tommy's Oscar looked like winning and then flattened out. On the place, de Thompson did win. Roger Poll did win. I'm not sure what happened to Innis Kerry. I didn't see the result of that race. So anyway, it's a good starting point. One of the things I like to do is look at some of the bigger priced horses on the place shortlist. So I'll sort it by odds and then look at the races for these bigger priced horses and see if there's anything that catches my eye. If you're on one of the reports, you'll note that the menu at the top changes to be all of the reports, their short names. So we've got hot form here, horses for courses, head to head, best of instant expert, fast finishers, which is a sectional timing report, trainer stats, TJ combo, trainer jockey combo, trainer snippets, trainer change, handicap first time, trainer first, 2-year-old first start, headgear or surgery first start. So you've got things like wind ops, gelding, blinkers, hood, visor, tongue tie, etc. here. Jockey stats, sire snippets and report angles. Let me just show you report angles a moment, because I think if you're new to GG's it's worth spending a little bit of time setting this up, and by a little bit of time I mean 5 minutes. So if I click on my report angles settings, I get this screen here. Now it looks quite busy, so let's break it down. On the left hand side is a list of the reports that are included inside my report angles. At the moment you can see that jockey statistics is selected, and these are the reports that I can include. These are the sub reports, I beg your pardon, that I can include or exclude from my report angles. And if you look at 14-day, it's unchecked, 30 days unchecked, course 1 year is unchecked, course 5 year is checked. You can set the parameters that trigger entries to appear on your report angles report. So if I make this, sorry, I'm not using that one. If I make this number a bigger number, then I'm going to get fewer entries on my report. And so that means you can be as selective or scattergun as you like. depending on how you use the information that appears on your report angles. I'm just going to leave this as it is for now, but if actually I'll change this to 1, and then if I just click Save Settings, and that says saved, and that's updated that particular report. And I can go through any of these and change them or update them. I can turn them all on or off, so that would turn on the sub reports on and off, or I can turn all of the reports. I can add or remove all of the reports from my report angle settings by using the on off buttons here. There are default settings for these which you can reset with the default reset defaults button. That would reset the defaults for this report specifically. Let me just do that. I don't really use jockey stats, so if I click reset defaults, it's going to reset the defaults, and you can see that it's unchecked all of those reports now. So if I just click this one, they're now all checked, but I don't want them all checked, so I'm going to uncheck them and put my course 5-year one back in. I'm going to, yep, that's fine, and then save the settings. And if I wanted to reset all of the defaults, I could do that with this button at the bottom, but I don't want to do that because I've spent time setting these up. I think in your first week as a GG's Gold subscriber, you'll figure out which reports are interesting to you. And in your first week, or certainly your second week, you should be thinking very seriously. I would strongly recommend that you use this and get this saved. Once you've done that, you'll see a report that looks like this. Now this is very busy. You can see there's a huge number of rows on here. It's not, obviously it's not usable in that format. That's not why I have this report. I never look at this report basically, but what I do get is, as I showed you earlier, in the race card I will see those red numbers that tell me of anything that's of interest to me. So in this case, Digub has got trainer stats for the last year and trainer jockey stats, Haggis with Marquand. There's two pointers to this particular horse that I may or may not have been aware of, and that's how I use report angles, is to fire that data into the race card where I am looking and I do need it. I will be using it. So I do strongly encourage you to look at report angles. It's a great feature of the report set. Speaking of reports, I just wanted to show you, this is just the last couple of days and it's carefully curated to suit the purposes of this video, but I just wanted to show you a few of the horses that have kind of really stood out on the reports each day, and GG's Gold users will have backed these horses as a result of them being on the reports. I backed some of them, just a couple of them, but other people will have, depending on the way you play, will have had their reports set up to find these. So Art of Unity won at Bellewstown. His head-to-head record was excellent. Actually, he had won the race the year before. I did bet this one, returned a BSP of 24 and something. Oranges and Lemons, I did not bet that. That was a 16-1 winner that returned 20 on Betfair. Hootie Hoo and Flying Max ran great races to be in the frame at massive prices. Even their place Betfair SPs were very good. Lots of shorter price winners. A big winner here from the Sire Snippets, Dr. Strangelove. Another big winner here, Fantasy World. I backed this one only for pennies on trainer stats. Actually had a few other things going for him, that guy. Watching the Clock, unfortunately I didn't back. He had a couple of angles pointing to him, and then yesterday, the last day I looked, there weren't many big price winners at all yesterday, but there were quite a few shorties that won it, and were flagged in various places across the report ecosystem. So those are the reports. Set them up how you want or don't, but there's lots of winners hiding in plain sight on those pages. And finally, let's look at the toolkit. So if you click on, or if you just hover over the tools menu, it will show you the tools we have. If you click on the tools menu item, it will show you in a bit more detail, or tell you a little bit more about the tools that we have. So we have a tracker which has got horses, trainers, sires and jockeys. You can set it up to get email alerts the night before of your tracked entities. You can add notes to your horses. I use this actively, including the notes section, and I've backed some great winners off horses that I've backed, that I've seen them do something, or they're unlucky in the run or whatever. And it hasn't been, this is the important bit, is that if the in-running comment writer or the analyst sees the thing that happened, sees the thing that you saw, and they write about it in their comment, then everybody's on that horse. But if you see it and they missed it, maybe they saw it but they just didn't write it because, you know, it's time and they've got places to go, people to see, then that's all power to your elbow. So those notes and night before tracker emails have been a rich source of winners ongoing for me. And I never was a tracker guy, but I've become a strong advocate for using a tracker. I think if you watch any racing, you should be making notes on horses that that you think benefit from a step up in trip or a step back, or got a bad run or a bad ride or whatever. Don't moan about jockeys and stuff. You know, it's a hard job. Nobody, if you get your job right 100% of the time, well done you. I definitely, as this video has demonstrated, I definitely don't get my job right 100% of the time. So be forgiving and back them next time. That's tracker. Query tool, I'm going to show you that in a minute. Profiler, we've seen the race card tab version of that. This is a more open-ended version where you can search for anything you want, really. The bet tracker let's just have a quick look at this actually. The bet tracker is a tool where you can add in your bets each day, and you can see how you've performed under various conditions. You can basically see what's working for you and what's not. Lots of GG's members have found some really fantastic insights on their own play from using this tool, and I don't use it actively myself because I sort of know, you know, historically I've figured out what I've been doing well and less well. I sort of know what my Achilles heels are and where I should swerve. But if you don't yet know that, or if you're not sure that you know that, Bet Tracker is really good. Bet Finder, we'll look at that in a second. Draw Analyzer and Pace Analyzer and allow you to do a bit of research around draw and run style. And a Bet Calculator, you can work out what your winnings are. So the two of these that I want to look at in more detail. Let's look at Bet Finder first. This is if you're a bit short on time, or maybe you don't want to dig too deeply into the data. Bet Finder is a great place to start. Let me just put all of these. Not sure what happened there. Right, so this is today, and we can see that it says there's 237 qualifiers. So that means there's 237 horses running today. Let me see if I can make this a bit bigger. So I can now define my parameters. What am I interested in today? Well, let's say, as an example, I want to look at horses that were beaten favourites last time out. So I've got 18 runners here. What about in the top 3 of the Racing Post ratings and top speed and our SR figures? Okay, I've got 3 horses now. If I click on the qualifiers tab, it will tell me what those 3 are, and they included the Tomps on Tomps, which was a 4-1 winner. Dexter looked like he was going to win and dogged it a little. Maybe he wasn't quite fit, maybe the ground was a bit quick. Anyway, he didn't win. He looked like he would win and then he didn't. We can go back to the filters tab here, and we can either reset or we can just uncheck these. What I want to show you is that there's all sorts of ways you can configure this. So if you only want certain race types, if you only want handicaps, if you only want certain race grades or field sizes, you can do all that stuff at the top here. And then these are the basic filters, the ratings. first time stuff, first run ever, first run in a handicap, first time after a wind up, first run with a piece of equipment, first run after a trainer change, and so on. Second time the same. And then we've got trainer form, positive and negative, jockey and sire form, all positive, J's for jockey, TJ for trainer jockey, S for sire. And then we've got some advanced trainer form down here, both positive and negative. So let's say we were looking for horses to lay. We could say, show me a trainer with last time out winner negative. And of course there are none today. How convenient. What about first start? Two runners. So, I mean, obviously that's not helpful as a layer because you're not laying horses at those prices. So that wasn't the best example possible. What about on the positive side? Distance move? None today. Handicap first time? None today. Last time out winner? Nope. 60 plus days? 15. That's quite a lot. Let's try 7 minus days. Nope. Second start, 3. Okay, so we've got Archer's Bay, Claret and Animato. I'm not sure about Animato. I know the other two didn't win because they were on a system that I follow and I backed them both. But the fact that they were on a system that I follow and I backed them both tells you that them being on this report is probably a good thing. That system's been very good to me. So although it came up dry today, that might be an angle to follow. You can look at this data for tomorrow as well. We can see there are 2 such qualifiers tomorrow, both massive prices. I'd be less interested in their chances on the basis of that, although Ed Walker second start stats are superb, so I definitely would be having a look at that horse to see how it goes. And that's Bet Finder. You can set it up how you like, and you'll get a short list of horses on the qualifiers tab that you can either bet them blind or you can go through to the races in question and have a look in more detail and see if it feels like a bet for you, depending on how much time and inclination you have. Okay. Again, this is a starter, kind of a beginner to intermediate tool. It's a beginner tool, really. It's a really good way to shortcut the form study process to get your own short list of runners based on the things that are interesting to you, and then to either bet those or to go, as I say, and look in more detail. Now, the last tool I want to look at is the most interesting, to me at least, and that's the query tool. And this is the place where you can ask questions and get answers, where you can kind of get a bit dirty with the data, if that sort of thing suits you. So the way it's broken down is on the left hand side is where we set the question, basically. Let's take an example. Let's say I'm interested in, I want to look at the draw at Lingfield over 5 furlongs, let's say that. So I select course Lingfield, actually all weather, Lingfield all weather, because of course they've got a turf track as well. So Lingfield 5 for flat all weather, distance any to 5 will work, but let's just do 5 to 5. And then if I just click generate report there, these are all the 5 furlong races. And if I so this main block is the output. So the input is on the left hand side here, and the output is in this big window here. So the summary data for my query is here, 222 wins from 1638. Doesn't really tell me anything at this stage. This is just a set of data that I've chosen. If I click on the filters tab here, it will tell me what I've selected. So I've chosen the last 5 years date range. I've chosen Lingfield all weather 5 furlongs. Okay, so that's what we know about Lingfield all weather 5 furlongs. What I want to know is I want to look at handicaps only, and then I want to say show me how pace, how run style has affected performance. So remember, 1 is held up, 2 is midfield, 3 is prominent, and 4 is led or disputed the lead. So sorry, I need to just press this radio button here. Will group by the individual pace scores, the constituent pace scores. So now I've got four items here, and I can see that horses that led, there were 233 horses that led in the last 5 years over Lingfield's 5 furlong all-weather handicap track. 57 of them won, which is nearly a quarter. 51% placed, which is more than half. And they were profitable at starting price, and more so at Betfair starting price. And they were profitable to bet each way. The only problem is, before the race, we don't know which horse is going to lead, of course, but some horses are more likely to lead than others, and we can use the pace tab to help us understand that. What's interesting here is that hold-up horses perform poorly, both in win percent, each way percent, and profitability, but in actual fact, those that were prominent, and even those who raced midfield, did fairly well. So that's quite an interesting data set to work with. If you like what you see, you can save your information as an angle. You type in a name here and click Add Angle, and then that's going to go into your list. You can view runners, remove angles, and so on. And then there is a report that you can access. What have I done here? Just bear with me. Let's go to reports, called QT angles, and if you look at that, it's going to show you all of your qualifiers for your various systems that you have set up. So that's from Query Tool. Now, the last thing I want to show you, or one of the last things I want to show you, is what we're building currently to extend Query Tool. So this, spot the difference here. This slightly different version of Query Tool is on our development website, and you can see that I use this shocking pink bar at the top to remind me that I'm looking at the development site, not the live site. If you look closely, you'll see that there is an extra thing or two on here. Let's what do I want to do? Let's look at the last year, and I want to go to runner, and then I want to go down here, and we've got some extra I'm just going to have to make this a bit smaller so it fits in the window. We've got some extra variables in here, so I'm going to choose tongue tie and generate report, and this is going to tell me the performance of horses in the last year that wore a tongue tie, and we can see that they did okay. Better than average. Average is 0.5, so marginally better, and on 12,000 horses, that's material. That's a material improvement. We've got this new variable here called equipment count, and I'm just going to put this 1 to 20 here, and then group by. And then what that will do, it will say for horses wearing a tongue tie, show me their performance first time wearing a tongue tie, second time wearing a tongue tie, third time, and so on, up to 20th time wearing a tongue tie. So if I click Generate Report, I'm now going to get a breakdown from 1 to 20. It's a bit difficult to read in that table. There's a lot of data there. So I'm going to go to the chart view, and it's on runs at the moment. I'm just going to change that to, let's change it to each way. And now we've got something that I think is quite interesting, and it's the sort of thing that I look for with both equipment and surgery when I'm doing analysis on equipment and surgery. So what we see is that the first time after the fitting of a tongue tie, so first time wearing a tongue tie, each way the place percentage is below 25%. And the reason for that is, well, twofold. Firstly, sometimes with any equipment, it's desperation measure on behalf of connections. A horse that's running well doesn't get equipment fitted. A horse that's running below expectations tends to have things tried to improve its performance. So first time with anything, essentially a slow horse is a slow horse. A horse that doesn't want to race is a horse that doesn't want to race. And generally speaking, adding a piece of equipment won't change that. But what we see on this second start is a big jump. So from 24.36% place rate to 28.33. And there are two reasons for this, particularly in the case of tongue ties. So the most important reason is something called confirmation bias. And that is the fact that if the horse runs poorly in a first time tongue tie, it won't run a second time with a tongue tie very often. It will be an aborted mission and he'll try something else. So lots of these horses that ran poorly the first time never see a tongue tie for the second time. But some horses do, obviously, and they see them for a long time thereafter. And one of the things about a tongue tie is that it's quite similar to a wind operation in that both of them, to one degree or another, free up the airways. In the case of a tongue tie, it literally ties the tongue down to stop the horse swallowing it or it getting in the way in another way. So the air, the throughput of air is unimpeded. Sometimes it takes a horse, particularly after a wind op, but this is a very similar, logically it's the same kind of thing. It takes a horse a few runs to realise that it can actually breathe better now, and so that's why you see this incremental progress up to about the 5th run. With wind surgery it can be the 7th run or something like that. You can do your own research using wind count for wind surgery, but just wanted to show you this for tongue ties. It's a very similar trajectory we see. Now you can see, like, first time tongue tie, 9.5% win, 24.36% each way. By the time the tongue tie goes on for the 5th time, we're up to 14% win and 33% each way. It's a massive difference, and so it's definitely something to bear in mind, and it's a great example of the sort of thing you'll be able to do with Query Tool in the near future when we add equipment count to the list of variables. You can see we've got RPR and TS here. We've also got owner. So if I reset this, and if I put GGs in here, for instance, you've got all the different GGs ownership entities, and I can quickly select those. I think we're going to add an select all button on there to make it easier to do that. And then if I click generate report, we can see how GG syndicates have done in the last 5 years. And you can see we've run 100 horses, 20 of them won, 44 made the frame. They were profitable to SP and bet for SP. And yeah, pretty marvellous. I actually did a piece of research comparing the last 5 years for various other syndicate ownerships. And if I can find... there we go. Here's the detail. So you can see this is GG's at the top, the data that you just saw. Let me just make that a little bit clearer. Actually, it's not clear, is it? There we go. Let's try that. So, and you can see all the other syndicate groups. Lots of good performers there. Only one of them, Noel Feely, well done, with a better win rate than us, and pretty much all of our data is better than pretty much any other syndicate. And I'm bound to say that that is hugely down to luck as well as judgment. Also, the fact that we've only, GG syndicates operate on a small scale. They're kind of a boutique thing. I pick the horses out generally myself, and obviously choose trainers who I massively respect and who place their horses superbly well. There are lots of other syndicates on here who do similarly, so I'm not, I'm definitely not saying we're better than these other guys. We are better than a number of them, but syndicates are about much more than win strike rates and things like that. And it's very hard to scale syndicate buying horses and retain that level of success. So we have been very lucky, but nevertheless this table makes for good reading, and we do occasionally have syndicates available. We do occasionally have shares available. I might buy a horse at Arcana, a yearling. Not really a starter syndicate option probably, but if I do, that will be flagged on GG's in due course. So if that might be interesting to you, then feel free to drop me a line at that time. But this is just another piece of research that I was able to do with one of the new filters that we're adding to the GG's query tool. It should be available. When will it be available? Soon. Very likely before the end of the month, but I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I'd much rather do it the other way around. We've got a bunch of other things that we want to add to query tool, most notably last run variables. So for instance, what was the run star score last time? What was the distance last time? Where did the horse finish? How many days was it since the run? And so on. So we will release it when I'm ready. It's not going to be too long, but as I say, I'd rather under promise and over deliver than the other way around. Okay, and that concludes this whistle stop tour of GG's Gold. A not very subtle reminder that the offer for the winter season ticket ends very soon. 10 o'clock Monday the 6th of October. Should have known that really. So from when I'm recording this, literally 24 hours. If it's interesting to you, if there's stuff there that you found interesting, then do check out the sales copy. You can see all the sort of a bit more information about the things we have. And yeah, like 7 months for a one-off fee. So much to look forward to this winter. I'm really excited, obviously for our own horses, but for there's big meetings and big name runners every day. I love the all weather because the data set that we've got makes it so playable. I had a guy email me just a couple of days ago saying he joined just around about this time last year, and he absolutely smashed it out of the park on the all weather last year using the draw and run style stuff. I'm not at all surprised by that because I know how powerful it is, and on the all weather they never move the rails, same pool of horses, everything's a bit more predictable on the all weather. The going is pretty much the same most of the time, so it's a really playable arena for us punters, alongside the fantastic national hunt stuff, the jump racing that we're also stoked about. So enough from me on that. This offer expires very soon. It is a really good offer. It's a huge discount, not quite half price, but not far off. And if you want it, get it while you can. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Very sorry for the gremlins earlier. That was a disaster and really embarrassing. Hopefully you've stuck with it and watched this. And I wish you all the best with your punting this autumn, winter and spring, hopefully with a winter season ticket if you're not already a gold subscriber. Matt Bisogno saying thank you very much for watching and goodbye for now.